schools from recruiting him. You do recruit to the finish, but it looks like he's going to be a Clemson Tiger, and that looks very, very firm. So that went down over the weekend. We had the Masters wrap up. It was a great, in my opinion, and I know the ratings, I was looking at some of the television ratings, very low, the lowest they've been in a while, and that's something that the PGA golf, they're going to have to take a hard look at what they're going to do. I think they'd love to see Tiger Woods get healthy. If Tiger Woods is even playing in the Masters on Sunday and somewhat in contention, they had eyes on the see a great story unfold with Sergio Garcia winning his first major championship. It was kind of cool. And I'm kind of in this category too. I wasn't a big fan of Sergio Garcia early in his career. He used to get under my skin. I used to like watching him kind of implode. I used to like watching the galleries needle him to the point where he would unravel. He would lose his composure on the course, sometimes off the course with his comments, and people just love to poke him, just like they used to love to poke Colin Montgomery. And I know a lot of it's the American European rivalry and the Ryder Cup stuff that bled over. But Sunday at Augusta, he had that crowd pulling for him.
Yes.
The patrons were behind him. They wanted to see him do it. He did it, and that was a really cool thing. Great story. But yeah, you had no Americans were really contending.
No.
Down the stretch there. They all just kind of faded. Ricky
Fowler
was the guy everybody was hoping would be there. He didn't have it, and it was pretty clear right away that it was going to be Justin Rose and Sergio Garcia, and Garcia got it done in a playoff.
Yeah, well, one American that would have been contending, but he ran into a couple of stairs. That's kind of cost him. But, Sergio Garcia, the only reason I would get on Sergio, and I think a lot of people got this way, was the fact he took 20 years to take a putt. And so, you had the fans tapping their watches, at him and this sort of thing. And but as you continue to run for that holy grail, and you come back and you show a few gray hairs in your head and in your face, the crowd starts to cheer for you, because please let this guy win one. And it was good to see him really match the concentration, because he hit some big putts down the stretch to stay within striking distance, and then he just put his foot to the accelerator in the last 3 holes.
Yeah, he missed that one on 16, and I thought, uh-oh, he's nervous. I mean, that was not an easy putt.
No.
But Justin Rose made his. They both had, he had the eagle on 15, and then he had a great tee shot on 16. Rose had a great tee shot on 16, and Rose made his putt, and then when Garcia missed that putt, I was wondering if he was going to didn't happen. He made it count, and he got it done on the first playoff hole. So that was really cool. But, this is something that golf is going to have to try to figure out. They have a lot of great players on that tour right now, and Dustin Johnson is the #1 rated player in the world. Can he carry that mantle? Can he make people want to tune in? He's got a great story. He's got a good personality. He's kind of the bad boy that got his life together, so to speak. But is that going to be enough? I mean, Tiger Woods isn't walking through that door again anytime sooner, so it would appear. I do think I guess this is borderline hot take-ish, but I do think that Tiger Woods has another run in Augusta in him if he can get himself just healthy enough for a weekend. He's still young enough. He's 41. He's still young enough in the next 5 years, get himself just at a semblance of a point where he's healthy. He knows that course. It's the same course every year. He knows every nook and cranny of it. He's won there before, kind of like Fred Couples can hang around the top of the leaderboard at Augusta because he just he knows that course. He has a game. He's a shot maker. You don't have to always be the biggest hitter. You just have to know where to put the ball in the green and know how to make putts. I think Tiger can contend at Augusta again. I don't think Tiger's ever going to get back to where he was before, even close to that. But I do think Tiger Woods can have a weekend. What a magical tournament that would be for Tiger Woods to have one more run in him at Augusta. That would just be incredible to witness. So I could see that happening, and maybe that's what they'll need to get people excited again, because bottom line, the numbers don't lie. More Panthers on a Thursday night game than they did the Masters. We continue on Sports Talk here, South Carolina Radio Network. Before we move on to other things, let's check in with Corn Blue. It does have the night off, but we want to check in with them briefly to get all the latest on what happened up at Clemson over the weekend. Of course, they not only had the spring game, Brad Brownell had some news. There was baseball, all sorts of things going on, Corn, and we've been kind of laughing about it. It's been going all over social media, the crowd size and this debate. Apparently, spring crowd attendance matters all of a sudden. And Clemson had a big one there, according to their reports.
Well, they did have a big crowd. There's no denying that. It was a enthusiastic crowd because they were there not only to see what the Tigers may look like in 2017, but also the seniors who were getting their championship rings at halftime. So it was a festive day, and Clemson does a great job of presenting their spring game or a regular season game. I mean, it's like a NASCAR thing, nonstop noise. Not saying the music they play is noise, but you get the understanding that there's constant music and videos blaring out of the speakers. And they really had the boombox turned up inside the stadium excessively loud this particular day, all to give it a great feel of excitement and enthusiasm. 60,000, I didn't think so. I thought that was a bit on the high side. Looking around the stadium, I mean, the lower bowl was pretty much full. The hill was not. The upper deck across from me was basically empty. There were a few people scattered about there. Now, I could not see the upper deck above me, so I don't know what was up there upstairs. But anyway, look, you could have called it 60,000. You could have called it 70,000. It was all an estimate. What it has done, of course, is given Clemson more positive publicity. As I saw a ranking today, attendance the highest in a spring game thus far. Now, Georgia's got theirs coming up. Alabama's got theirs coming up, Ohio State. And I'm sure they're going to look at that and go, we can top that, either literally or figuratively.
Exactly.
We can top that.
Yeah, all you have to do is throw out a number. That's what most of these schools do. It's always an even number, just some random number when they don't actually have turnstiles to keep the attendance. But there's no question, Corin, there was a festive atmosphere up there. There's a lot of buzz around Clemson football. And even before the game started, the big story of the day Saturday was on the recruiting front.
Oh, yeah. Xavier Thomas making his commitment to Clemson, which it shocked both Clemson and South Carolina because, a lot of Gamecock people thought that South Carolina was in the best shape to get him. And Clemson didn't expect it quite so soon. Well, I guess they knew earlier in the week. Our information was that he told Dabo Sweeney earlier in the week, and he also told Will Muschamp on Thursday, so he knew. But in terms of the masses, when it came out on Saturday both ways, it was a big surprise. And it just goes to show you can have your crystal balls and your tea leaves and all this sort of stuff. And only the kid knows for sure what's in his head. And I think Isaiah Thomas, to his credit, he looked hard at both schools. South Carolina was his favorite growing up. He gave the Gamecocks ample opportunity. He made multiple visits there. He looked around. He examined. And he determined what was best for him, and he believes what's best for him is a place where he can win immediately. When he steps on the campus in 2018, he thinks Clemson is going to be a place where he can win championships right away, while he must think South Carolina is still a long work in progress after being there for the spring game and watching them up close and seeing some spring practices. He must think that they're still a ways away, and so he opted to go where he's got a chance to step in and be part of what is already a championship level program.
Let's talk about what you saw on the field Saturday. Everybody's main focus was the play of the quarterbacks and who's going to emerge in that battle. Who looked good to you? Who caught your eye? Who maybe didn't look so hot?
Well, let's preface this by saying what we always say. It's a spring game, and it's hard to take away complete positives from a spring game, especially one like this one in which the teams were split. You did not have ones versus twos. You had a mingling of ones, twos, and threes playing against each other. So you had quarterbacks lining up with linemen they weren't used to playing with running backs and receivers that they weren't necessarily used to playing with. Talking about on the offensive side, I was hoping to come away being wowed by somebody at quarterback, and just from my own perspective, I was not. Now, there does not seem to be a great deal of worry on the Clemson coaching side of things from Dabo Sweeney in particular. He feels like he's got four quarterbacks, any of which he can win with. There'll be a fifth one coming in this summer in Chase Bryce. But of the four that we saw, the most effective statistically was Tucker Israel. All right? And, if Tucker Israel ends up being Clemson's starting quarterback, then I'll be named the next ambassador to Israel. Okay.
Oh, you're going to stand with Israel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and they're going to say all the right things, but come on. I mean, he's not going to be a guy that can lead Clemson to where Clemson is now, where Clemson wants to stay. Hunter Johnson, Zarek Cooper, Kelly Bryant. Again, they all had flashes of moments, a nice pass here, a nice pass there. Bryant did not throw the ball well. He did run it well once again. And remember, the quarterbacks were live in this scrimmage. They could be hit, and they were hit. So they had to play it like a real game. Again, it left me with a feeling about Clemson's offense without, even though they've got a lot of shiny parts at wide receiver, I was underwhelmed by the running game, and I was underwhelmed by the quarterbacks. Now, again, all that being said, I understand it's a spring game, split up squads, and when you put the whole piece together with everybody pulling in one direction, very shiny new toy that Dabo Swinney will have to play with in 2017.
Corn, are you blowing leaves as you're doing this segment? Are you like talking to us and like blowing leaves at the same time? Is that what you're doing?
Well, now listen, we're talking about Clemson, right? And every time we have audio from Clemson, what do we have in the background?
Usually there's a tractor in the background leaving the practice field.
Exactly.
So,
I'm sitting outside here in Atlanta, the ATL. It's a beautiful day, and the neighbors just decided at this very time to start working in their yard.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the quarterbacks going live, and watching the game unfold on Twitter. Of course, I didn't see it in person and have not watched the game, but it looked like there was some definite hitting on the quarterbacks. In the first play of the game, did Bryant not get injured?
Yes, he did. He had the ball hit him off the tip of the finger and did a little damage to the ligament in there, and he had to put a splint on. But he stayed in there. He did not want to come out. He was in there to compete. So they put a splint on his pinky finger, and he continued. Hunter Johnson, his first snap, a player in motion who went right in front of him as the ball got there. The ball hit him in the face mask. So, difficult starts there for those two guys from that standpoint. Again, there'll be a much more refined unit by the time Kent State rolls around, and they might even go out against Kent State and put up your 35, 40 points. But, just watching them quarterback, and if you followed Clemson football as we have the last all oil by the extreme high level of quarterback play they got the last 2.5 years from Deshaun Watson. And I just don't, I don't see anybody. I did not see anybody from Saturday that's going to rival that in any form or fashion, at least this coming year in 2017. Maybe in time they will.
Yeah. I mean, you don't replace a guy like Deshaun Watson. Defense, do they look like they could be a notch better this year? Because that's who's going to have to carry them.
Salty, nasty, deep, talented, well coached. The defense is going to be absolutely fine. Clemson may have to win some games this year along the lines of 17-10, 21-0. Defense is going to have to carry more than the water this coming season. But, I really have no concerns about their defense. I have no concerns about punting is another question. Nobody. Well, Spire had a 60-something yard punt too, but the punter's got to be sorted out. Place kicking with Hugel should be fine. So some issues there going into the fall when it comes to the offense, and a little bit there on special teams.
All right, we'll hear from Dabo Swinney a little bit later in the program. Corn, we'll hear a little bit more from you. We'll get some recruiting from you coming up later in the show as well. Sports Talk continues here on South Carolina Radio Network. We'll be right back. It's Sports Talk on a Monday evening. Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes, holding it down here in our Columbia studios. Jared Rogers Martin behind the glass. You can join us if you'd like. 800-956-72 is how you reach us. You can also drop us an email at talkback@sportstalksc.com. Follow along on Twitter at SportsTalkSC, where you can interact with us in 140 characters or less. Lots of ways to get in touch with us. Let's jump out to the phones here. Some Dabo Sweeney coming up momentarily. Delvin is in Fountain Inn, and he is up first tonight on Sports Talk. Hello, Delvin. I think.
Yeah, about the spring game. You can't take nothing away from the spring game, but you remember 6 years ago, Todd Boyd struggled in the spring game, and all he did was lead Clemson to their first ACC championship that year. So, summertime and the fall to see how they improve.
They're going to get better. They're going to be a better team in late August, early September than they are in April, and they're going to be a better team in November than they are in September. That's usually how it goes. That's what you want. If that isn't the case, something's gone haywire. Something didn't work out. Injuries, you lost your team. I mean, it doesn't always work out that way, but that's the way it is supposed to work out. Teams should get better as the year progresses. The question that Clemson's going to be a really salty team. Their defense is going to be loaded. They lost a lot of really good players offensively. They're going to have to break in some guys. They're not going to be as good on offense this year as they were last year. Doesn't mean they're going to be a bad offense. Doesn't mean they're going to be a liability on offense, but they're not going to be as strong. They're going to have a drop-off at quarterback. And we don't know who's going to win the job right now. I would still bet right now, if you made me put a gun to my head and said Clemson against, Kent State in the opener. Thank you. I would go with Kelly Bryant right now just because of the experience. But do I think he'll be the guy all year? I don't know. We'll see. I think Dabo usually likes to give the returning guy, the guy that's paid his dues in the program, first crack at it. You even look back to Cole Stout and how he got the nod over Deshaun Watson early as he was the upperclassman, the guy that had been around a little while, had paid his dues in the program. So we'll see how it all shakes out. I think Clemson, I still think they're a 10-win team. I think they're going to lose a couple of games next year. They have a brutal schedule. I mean, they have a really tough schedule next year, tougher than they had last year, in my opinion. Now, they get Auburn at home, but they still get an improving Auburn team. They get them at home, but they're probably going to face a better Auburn team than they faced last year in their opener, and that's going to be tough. Virginia Tech, to Florida State. You got to go to Louisville. You know, there's some tough games on that skid.
Well, you know,
Well,
you know, the key point.
Florida State does come to Clemson. You're right. You have to go to Louisville and to Virginia Tech. You do get Florida State at home. Yes, you're right.
Well, you know, the key stat that Clemson fans for years with number 4 is a stat that's going to be important for Clemson this year. A possession. Why? Because early on, your defense, Kyle, until your quarterback and the offense and everything gels. That means having time possession gives your defense time off the field to rest. And hopefully that defense is as salty as it's been, even though you have a different cast of characters, to give your offense a short field via turnover, the fumble or the interception, because that's going to be early.
Let's keep it with the phones. Glenn is in Columbia, and he's up next. Hello, Glenn.
Yeah, well, I asked Phil what happened to the recruitment report in the state newspaper. He hadn't had it the last 2 weeks. And I know he's slowing down, but see if he can get it back in there.
Yeah, definitely. Now, do you have access to the internet, the World Wide Web?
I don't have one. I don't have it.
You don't mess with that internet stuff. Good for you. I wish I could find it.
Well, you know, even
dark age.
Yeah, even though he has not had the report, if there's some important commitment or he does still have an article in there on the weekend.
And here's the thing, Glenn. I know you can listen to us at least, right?
Yeah, well, you better fades out later on.
Okay, well, coming up in our next segment, Corn, we've got a recruiting segment with him coming up.
Okay, thank you.
So stay tuned for that, okay?
Thank y'all.
We appreciate it.
Y'all keep him straight.
We'll do our best. That's easier said than done. Let's jump into some comments from Tigers coach Dabo Swinney. We have a couple of parts here. We're going to play part one. Part two will come up in the second hour. But here's Dabo talking about the Tigers spring game, big crowd, and what he saw out there.
Well, I thought that it was a competitive game. That's about what I expected, especially with how I saw the team divided. I knew there'd be, battle all day, and so it was good. The biggest thing, I just appreciate our fans. I mean, to give us that type of tool to teach our guys is huge. I mean, to see the upper decks open and people up and up and down, we've got a lot of guys. We're a young team. We got 7 scholarship seniors, so we got a lot of guys that either played for the first time today or played significantly for the first time today. And to be able to go out there, it's one thing to go out there and scrimmage. It's another thing when you have that type of environment, because I don't care how much football you played, there's always some butterflies and transition when it's kind of the first time in that moment. And I saw that from a lot of those young guys, and I have no doubt that they're going to grow immensely from that, as opposed to having to wait for the first home game, to kind of create that feeling inside their gut a little bit. So I really appreciate that part of it more than anything, because again, it really helps us. Everything matters, and that's a great tool for these guys to go get better. But saw some good things from the young guys, saw some good plays, but just a competitive game. I don't think anybody got hurt. Kelly popped a tendon in pinky, right? I mean, literally first doggone play of the game. So he's going to have to kind of spin it for the next 6 weeks. But that's just the type of kid. He's tough. Just want to keep playing, and taped it up and split it up when played. Did the best he could. But, it was good for all those guys to get that type of game experience. The fact that we went live was good for our defense and everybody involved. But, good to see Hugh make a couple kicks, full speed special teams, and something we'll evaluate the tape. I'm sure, get better from it.
What's it sit in the quarterback position as you get ready to head into the ball, still wide open?
Yeah, Kelly, still right now, if we played today, he'd go be the guy. But we don't play today. We play in September, and again, everything matters. Everything counts. Really pleased with the spring that all 4 of them have had. Zarek and Hunter have had some really, really good days, and they've had some inconsistent days. Both of them really learning, growing every day. Today is a spring practice for Zarek, his first spring. Hunter's been here 15 practices. They're going to take that into the summer, and now they'll get installation all over again. So by the time we get to fall, you can they'll see the transformation. And then Tucker, Tucker's he's just a gamer. He knows what to do. He knows how to play. He doesn't have some of the tools that those other guys have, but he's the epitome of what you want. Just take what you got and make the best of it. And he's a good football player. And so I think all 4 of them have done a good job. But I'm really pleased, with how they're trying to lead, and again, good, healthy competition. Kelly's done a great job of kind of giving us that veteran leadership there, and look forward to seeing where they are when we get back.
Yeah, that'll be an intriguing battle. When will Dabo name his starter? Probably no time soon. Certainly won't be early in the fall camp, I wouldn't imagine. Although some coaches, it's a two-edged sword. You can name a guy early so he can take over the team, get everybody behind him, or you let the competition play itself out, let the guys battle, and then name your starter closer to game day. And that's the one I would tend to lean towards with Clemson.
I'm almost convinced that we won't know who the starter is etched in stone until maybe the 3rd game, meaning that you want to see the guys in action, but you don't want the guy you start to feel he's being pulled because he didn't do anything. He didn't do something right. You want him to feel he's being pulled because you're giving the guy just another look.
You have one game to figure it out, because game 2 against Auburn, that's a real big deal opponent right there. And there's a lot of them on the schedule. And a quarterback, it all Clemson's learned that. We continue on Sports Talk as we roll through your Monday evening. Glad you're with us wherever you have us dialed in around the state on one of our many great affiliates around the state. You can also catch us online. SportsTalkSC.com is our website. There's a video stream. I was just told somebody on Twitter said I looked bored on the Twitter feed. No, that's dialed in. I'm definitely not bored, I can assure you. Now, I do have recruiting coming up, so if you're watching the webcam, I might take a little nap. That's normally when I take a nap when Corn does recruiting, so that is coming up. But you can watch us at SportsTalkSC.com on our web stream. You can also listen to us live there, web stories, recruiting, it's all there. Lots of great stuff for you, SportsTalkSC.com.
And
Let's jump.
who else is bored?
Right.
The person who's watching you being bored must be bored because they're watching you.
Yeah, well, hopefully not. Hopefully not. We try to entertain. I got to remember, sometimes I forget that camera's even on, and goodness gracious, I'm yelling at Jared. You know, who knows what kind of stuff. You know, that's TVMA. Basically, just because you actually see our faces, it can scar you. It's a little scary, but we appreciate you. And you can go back and watch the shows too. If you miss something, you can go back, and we like to take it and break down the film and see where we made mistakes and where we can get better, et cetera, et cetera. Let's jump into recruiting because I don't want to run out of time. We have Kornblut standing by with a in-depth and detailed recruiting report.
That's right, K-Mac. The big news, the sudden commitment of All-American defensive end Xavier Thomas from Florence and IMG Academy to the Tigers. It was long thought by many that South Carolina held the edge for him, but after several times and Clemson a couple of times, he decided that Clemson was where he wanted to be. He talked it over with his family and got forward with his decision to commit to the Tigers. He actually told the Clemson coaches earlier in the week last week about his plans, and he informed Will Muschamp on Thursday with the bad news from a Gamecock standpoint. He says he's done. He is absolutely locked in, committed to the Tigers. Also, on Saturday night, Clemson got a commitment from tight end Braden Galloway from Seneca. Now, he's a former basketball standout who has only played a year of high school football and likes it so much that he now plans to concentrate on football in college at over 6'5", and they feel like he's got a lot of potential. Compare him favorably to a Jordan Leggett type of tight end at Clemson. He's a guy that also had an offer from NC State and was really just starting to get interest from a football standpoint when Clemson offered, and he visited and decided that's where he wanted to go. 50 catches for over 800 yards and 9 touchdowns. So now the Tigers have 8 commitments in their 2018 class. Some other news from Clemson. At the spring game Saturday, defensive lineman Darnell Jeffries of Covington, Georgia, he was back for a 4th time. He brought his parents and other family members, his girlfriend. In fact, he stayed over until Sunday to meet further with the coaching staff. So Clemson's very strong with him. USC has also been involved. He is going to visit Mississippi State this week and Florida on Saturday. Also down for a Georgia visit on the 29th. He wants to make his decision before his senior season. Place kicker B.T. Potter of South Point was at Clemson on Saturday again for the spring game. The Tigers are interested, not sure yet what they're going to do regarding their place kicking situation, if they will offer someone or not. If an offer were to come, it would come out of camp. And so he's going to go back this summer and show what he can do. He's also been talking to Penn State, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Indiana, and Cal, plus he's still hearing from USC. USC last week offered tight end Tommy Trimble of Johns Creek, Georgia. He picked up an offer from Georgia Saturday. He was at Auburn earlier in the week last week. He's going to Tennessee this Saturday. Indiana, Missouri, Minnesota, Maryland, and Colorado State also have offered, and he's going to visit USC on April 29th. Offensive lineman Wyatt Campbell from Lugoff Elgin picked up offers from NC State and Duke. He's not heard much recently from USC or Clemson. Running back Mateo Durant of McCormick has taken several visits, including one to USC. More to come. He said Clemson is really not interested any longer. USC does remain in touch. He's been in touch with Bobby Bentley. He has also been to Georgia and Georgia State, and visits are coming up with Wofford, Duke, Virginia Tech, Charlotte, and West Virginia. Defensive end Galen Elmore, the graduate transfer from Minnesota, is at USC for his official visit, arriving early, delayed in Atlanta on a flight from Arizona where he visited before heading east. He said the visit to Arizona went well. It was a lot of fun. He'll be at USC until Tuesday, and then he'll decide on his next 3 official visits. He picked up recent offers from Houston and Texas Tech. 2019 receiver Stephon Green of Carvers Bay, who is 6'5", 190, another of those basketball players who now has picked up football strongly. And he took in spring practices at USC and Clemson, and coaches from both are saying they're going to come in and watch him in the spring. He's also hearing from East Carolina and Wingate, and he's going to pursue football in college. Offensive lineman Hamilton Hall, who is 6'6", 332 of Chamblee, Georgia, was at Clemson last week. So the Tigers are taking a look at him. He's also been to Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina, NC State, and Georgia. 2020 quarterback J.W. Hertzberg of Southside Christian, already drawing the interest of USC, Clemson, and others. He's been to USC, and he went to Oklahoma last week. He goes way back with Bobby Bentley, working out with him when he was coaching at Burns. So they know each other well. He was invited to Clemson's spring game, but had already promised Oklahoma State a visit for the weekend, so he does plan to reschedule Clemson. He's also been to Miami and Florida International. Offensive lineman Carter Colquitt of Beaufort, Georgia, was at USC Friday and Clemson Saturday for the spring game. He's not been offered, but he's expecting coaches to scout him in the spring. He'll go to camps this summer in hopes of landing offers. Running back Zamir White of Laurinburg, North Carolina, was at Clemson Saturday with his mother, his third there this spring. He's expected back there for the spring game. USC continues to lead for receiver Jatavius Harris of Milledgeville, Georgia, and is in the final 7 with Louisville, Florida, Miami, Minnesota, Tennessee, Pitt, and West Virginia. USC target Fort Dorchester quarterback DeCarrion Joyner will visit Alabama April 22nd. Burns receiver DeMarcus Gregory was offered by Nebraska. Receiver Jacob Copeland of Pensacola, Florida, was at Clemson Saturday, but Sunday narrowed his decision to Auburn and Florida. Linebacker Peyton Wilson of Hillsborough, North Carolina, has Clemson in his top 4 with North Carolina, Ohio State, and Virginia Tech. Clemson did not make the Final 4 with offensive lineman Max Ray of Franklin, Tennessee, narrowed his list to Ohio State, Tennessee, Alabama, and LSU. Defensive back J.C. Horn of Alpharetta, Georgia, trimmed his list to USC, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Wake Forest, Ohio State, Alabama, and Auburn. 2019 running back Lamont Sparrow of Bladensburg, Maryland, was at Clemson Saturday, as was 2019 offensive lineman Riley Simmons of Beaufort, Georgia. 2020 quarterback Roman Purcell of Jersey City, New Jersey, was at Clemson Saturday. 2020 offensive lineman Clyde Haley Jr. of Washington, D.C., also was at Clemson, as was 2020 running back DeAndre Jackson of Lithonia, Georgia. In basketball, 6'2", Nalissa Smith of Converse, Texas, took an official to USC over the weekend. She's ranked 4th nationally by ESPN. And in baseball, 2019 outfielder Tyler Kehoe of Prospect Park, Pennsylvania, committed to USC to Louisville. All right, guys, that'll do it for recruiting tonight. Back to you.
All right, and Corn will of the program. He gets to enjoy himself. He'll be back with us in studio live and in color tomorrow night. We're going to run off to the top of the hour break. We have a busy second hour, so hunker down and get ready. Don't even think about going away. If you do, you'll miss more Dabo Swinney. You'll miss some Sergio Garcia, Masters champ, major champion Sergio Garcia, and Brad Brownell, Clemson basketball coach, announced a big staff change, letting go of one of his longtime assistants. So you'll get the latest from him as well. Lots to do in hour number 2 here on Sports Talk. We'll see you on the other side.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's why we recruited him. We recruited all four of them and signed them all for a reason. So we would never have signed them if we didn't believe in them. And sometimes some guys might be backup. Some guys.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back here on Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Might help if I actually had my microphone in front of me as we go live. I'm looking for my microphone, and somebody pushed it over to the other end of the studio. I don't know who would do such a dastardly deed. But we're glad to be back. Hour number 2 here, getting you through, taking you, pushing you, pulling you through your Monday. Goodbye, Blue Monday. We're going to get you through the week. Spring football officially over now at Clemson. We're going to hear some more from Dabo Sweeney coming up as the Tigers' orange and white spring game, attended by thousands and thousands and thousands of people at Death Valley, and they get a big commitment. It was just a great weekend for Clemson football, a great time to be a Clemson Tiger football fan. There is no doubt about it. Everything is rolling right now for Clemson. They just have the machine rolling. Recruiting is rolling. They're stacking up 5-star after 5-star. They really are getting about everybody that they target. I'm not 100%. Nobody bats 1,000, but they are, by and large, picking and choosing who they want at Clemson, and they've done a great job evaluating and developing talent. They have a great staff. The fans are all in, no pun intended. They're winning championships. Going. Now it's just about maintenance, keeping it fed, and off you. Clemson is a power program right now. They have the kind of program that is the standard that everybody wants to have. And we'll hear what Dabo had to say in his second part coming up momentarily. We also have some Sergio Garcia. We can talk more about the Masters. I was pulling for Sergio this weekend, Pro. I don't know who you were pulling for, but I was happy to see Sergio get it done. There are a few other guys but I was very happy that storyline played out yesterday.
Well, yeah, it was about time. As I say, a guy has been toiling at this thing for so long, and finally to have it come together. It brings everything back into perspective when you remember some of the meltdowns that happened at Augusta National, and you didn't want to see it happen to Sergio yesterday. I still have breakout in nightmares of what happened to the Shark years ago.
Oh, yeah, but 96.
Yes.
Yeah, he bloody choked. He definitely did. There's no question that got ugly for him. But Sergio got it done. He is no longer the best player to never win a Masters, or win a major, I should say. He is a Masters champ. A few other notes that we can pass along that we haven't really had a chance to get into. College baseball, first of all, a great weekend for Clemson. They sweep Virginia Tech 13-2. They've won 22 of their past 24 games since they lost that Friday game to South Carolina in that series. They have been on an absolute tear, just blowing through the ACC right now. Are now in the top 5 in every major poll, number 4 in D1 baseball, number 4 in the USA Today coaches poll, number 5 in baseball. Now USC dropped 2 of 3 against Vanderbilt. They were 2-2 last week, and those 2 losses to Vandy, a 1-1 loss on Thursday night, and then a very tough loss Friday night where they were an out away from winning the game, ended up going extra innings. They lost in 13 innings. They bounced back with a win on Saturday to at least salvage the final game of that series, and they have a big challenge coming up to Charlotte. They'll take on a top 5 North Carolina team that absolutely clobber them last year. And that's a big game for South Carolina because, let's face it, every game's big. Chad Holbrook, it's like a referendum every time he coaches. Every inning, every out, every decision that he makes is a referendum on his ability, fair or not. But the Gamecocks down to 14 in D1 baseball, 17 in Baseball America. They are 11th in the coaches poll. Oregon State, the top-ranked team in all of those polls. And Clemson junior left-hander Charlie Barnes is the ACC co-pitcher of the week, sharing that honor with Wake Forest right-hander Parker Dunshee. And Barnes against Virginia Tech, career-high 11 strikeouts, gave up just 4 hits and 1 run in a victory over the Hokies. He's 4-2 this season with a 1.51 ERA. And no big surprise here. Ray Tanner hinted this last week when he was on Sports Talk with us. New contracts coming for Dawn Staley and Frank Martin. Staley leading the Gamecocks to a national championship. Martin leading his team to the Final Four. And Tanner is expected to propose new contracts to the South Carolina Board of Trustees later this month. This according to a report in the state newspaper. Martin just signed a contract extension last year. He was set to earn about $2.5 million next season. Staley had a couple of years left on her contract, was going to make just over $1 million next season. So you can expect modest raises for Staley and Martin, and I'm sure the buyouts will increase or at least stay pretty high. Martin's had a very high buyout this year. It's about $4.8 million, and that's why Martin wasn't scooped up by somebody because you better believe teams would have come at him hard had he not just signed that contract. And Ray Tanner was very smart after they missed a tournament that year. And a lot of people were disappointed and thought they had faded down the stretch, blah, 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 blah. He got behind Martin and kept him in place. And that's what he'll do with Staley and Martin to try to keep other schools from poaching their guys. That's big. That's what you have to do.
And let's face it, hats off to Eric Hyman, because when he saw both basketball programs, once Susan Walvius was gone, and probably before she was gone, he had pinpointed who he was going after. And he was not going to leave Philadelphia till he got Dawn Staley. Then when he knew that, who can I get to coach this team? Now we got some money. I got some money I can play with. Who's unhappy with their AD? Oh, Frank Martin is. Oh, I think I'll go after him, and got him to Columbia.
Yep, with an assist there from Eddie Fogler, helping him land the right person. But 2 great basketball coaches for South Carolina that have done way better than anybody could have ever hoped for. I mean, you talk about the women winning a national championship. That's something that 10 years ago nobody would have dreamed of for South Carolina women's basketball. Nobody. And it just wasn't on the radar. It's not something that people thought about or thought was possible. And the men making the Final Four, heck, a month ago. I mean, this time last month, there weren't people thinking that South Carolina would be in the Final Four. A couple months ago, there were people wondering if they were ever going to win an NCAA tournament game. Really, a couple months ago, there were people wondering if they were going to make the NCAA tournament. And Martin gets them to the Final Four. And he's shown that he is a very good coach. The guy has a good system. He's a good X's and O's coach in terms of making adjustments and coming up with a game plan. He makes things very difficult for other teams. They're a hard team to prepare for and play against with his defensive principles, and he has kind of morphed a bunch of different principles from guys that have influenced him, from Shaky Rodriguez, his old high school coach, to Bob Huggins. I think Mike Krzyzewski and what he's done at Duke with that, make sure every pass is contested. He's kind of morphed all that into his own system, and it's worked very well for the Gamecocks, and he brought them all the way to the Final Four. And it's not really, you talk about fluky, it's not fluky for Martin. I mean, he's been to the Elite Eight before. He's 5-0 in first-round NCAA tournament games. He's pretty good. You have to be a good coach to win in March in the NCAA tournament when everybody you play is really good. There aren't any layups in the NCAA tournament. I mean, even 15 seeds get beat now, or beat 2 seeds now. You just cannot take a break.
Well, the big key, if you look at it also, is I think a lot of fans get into the point where they think recruiting is finite. If everybody gets their players, there's nothing left. The cupboard is bare. We can't find anybody. Well, unfortunately, he had to ask, 3 or 4 players to leave the team because they had failed to walk the straight and narrow. And there's suddenly Seventh Woods goes to North Carolina, and people ask, who is this short, stocky guy, Rakeem Felder? Where did y'all find him from? Where is he? Frank Martin said, well, you say no, I'll find somebody else to play who will follow the way I want to play. And he comes up with a Rakeem Felder. So there are players out there. You just have to work and find them. They may not be the blue chippers, but if they do what you want them to do and are very aggressive and can show their talent, they're good.
Hey, don't forget you can hit a homer with Founders Federal Credit Union, now open in Tigertown. Founders Clemson location is located on Old Greenville Highway. Also, check out their 4 on-campus ATMs. Visit, relax, join founders.com to see if you for membership. And speaking of Tiger Town, Dabo Swinney had a lot of friends up at Tiger Town, 60,000 of his closest friends, according to the attendance figures at the orange and white spring game. A lot of those eyes, I guess that would be 120,000 eyes on the quarterbacks and who is going to win that job going into next, who is going to look the best, who has the inside track. Let's get a little insight from Dabo Swinney.
You know, sometimes some guys might be backup, some guys, you know, might be the starter or whatever, but we definitely have the ingredients to be a team that has a chance. You know, that's really where we want to be every year. You know, I never don't hear me come out and say we're gonna win it all. I just want to be one of those teams that has a chance. That's all you can ask for. And there's a lot that goes into all the rest of it. And I want to see a team. Our goal is never to go win the national championship. Y'all know our goals. That's just a byproduct of our goals and the commitment. But I think we got a team that can compete and has a legitimate chance to accomplish the 5 goals that we have as a team. And we'll be committed to being the best we can be day in and day out. And we'll see a good team emerge.
Can you talk about what you like from your defense today?
Well, kind of what we were talking about earlier. I mean, we've got a bunch of guys that can play. And when you split the D-line, you split the linebackers, I saw a lot of young guys. I mean, Nolan Turner, Isaiah Simmons. These are, you know, guys that nobody even knows who they are. Skowski, you know, Shaq out there. There's a lot of guys that are going to play some football for us this year that not really anybody knows right now. Denzel, I really am encouraged. Niles Pinckney, you know, some of these young guys. You know, Jabril, he's a guy we're counting on to step up. And so again, when you can split the team and not give up a ton of sacks, we had some miscues, but I think that's a credit to the type of depth we got.
David Spector had a couple of pressures there too. Is he another guy that
Yeah, Spec's exactly what we hope to be. I mean, he's an instinctive football player. Very, very smart, fast. He's played a lot of positions in his career, which I think just gives him a real good understanding of the game. And it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a really good one. They've had great springs. You know, really both of them. Really pleased with what they've done, how they've worked all spring. You know, Dion, a couple opportunities today didn't really work out, but man, he's been awesome all spring. Last scrimmage we had on Wednesday, he was probably had the best day of anybody all spring. And then Ray made some plays. You saw some things from him in the running game, passing game, return game. And that's what we need from him. We need him to be a playmaker for us. And he's done that all spring. So it'll be exciting, especially when you put it all together. And you saw Cornell. Cornell's going to be a great football player. Travion's had an excellent spring. Renfro is, you know, the Renfro Nation continues to grow. And proud of him. But, you know, DeAndre Overton, good to see him. He's a young guy that's got to mature physically. But good to see him make a big play out there today. And it's going to be a good group, especially when we had a couple of them young guys coming in.
Through going back to normalcy and turning the page away from the national championship. And I mean, were you able to do that in the spring? Can you do that with the label of defending national champion?
Yeah, we don't defending national champion. I mean, we're, you know, if we had Deshaun and Mike and Octavius and Gallman and Ben, then we might. But you know, we don't. We're a new team, and so we're on a new journey, and our guys have a good mindset. You know, for us, it's always about what's next, and you know, that's just how we approach it. So start over, and you know, those plays that won last year, we got to go make them again to have a chance. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, they've got a completely different team, but he can say they don't have that label. They have that label. Every team that plays them, everybody that sees their schedule come out and they see Clemson on there, they're going to circle it and they're going to put defending national champs. And somebody wants to be, everybody wants to be, but somebody will be the team to knock off the defending champs. That's a big feather in the cap for a program. They're the class of the ACC. You know, Florida State is chasing them. You know, Louisville wants a piece of them. Everybody, Virginia Tech, who got them in the championship game, they get them up in Blacksburg. All these teams are going to be giving Clemson everything that they have. They're going to get everybody's best shot. Dabo would tell you They always get everybody's best shot. I get that, but you're going to get everybody's best shot plus a little bit more now. Best shot plus one.
That's the key to teaching these young players now, that you have to step it up a notch to beat these teams, because you keep them. And he's got the personality to do that. If we saw one team that had a talented bunch of players, but they did not understand that the uniforms did not win football games, it was Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Texas had number one recruiting, had guys coming in, and then suddenly they lost the edge, and they never got it back. Obviously, I blame the Longhorn Network, but also the fact that the young players never bought in that they had to crank it up a notch. They are at Texas. Texas putting on that Longhorn uniform wasn't going to do it for them, and they didn't realize that. Dabo is trying to get that straight through these young players' heads that, the tiger paw does not do it for you. You have to do it on the field.
Hey, remember, insects and diseases can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood, and they can threaten campsites, neighborhoods, and state and national parks. Help protect the trees not taking firewood anywhere far away from where you burn it. For more information, visit don'tmovefirewood.org. The Braves not playing tonight. Maybe that's good, Pro, because they have not been playing very well to start the season. In fact,
we're hitting.
What's the opposite of playing well?
Hitting.
Oh, playing bad.
That's because it's hitting, because they have the third ERA majors in the first week, and number one in ERA in the National League, just did not score.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Nationals are playing now. They're up 1-0 on St. Louis. I mean, the Braves, they haven't played their first home game yet. That's going to happen this week. I think this weekend they break in SunTrust Stadium.
SunTrust.
I think if you want to go to that game, you probably need to leave now. You might make it by first pitch, depending on what parts of I-85 may or may not collapse between now and then. But I would go ahead and leave now if you want to make it to first pitch of that game. And maybe you'll get to see a run scored. Maybe. A single. Maybe somebody. Maybe Matt Kemp will hit one on the top of the wall.
They had 3 home runs yesterday. Matt Kemp has had what? A game where he had 4 doubles.
Yeah, Matt Kemp can hit. He's got other issues that'll end up hurting the team, but he can hit when he's healthy and when he's not arguing with his teammates and management and the skipper. He's a pretty good player.
I think he's comfortable in Atlanta for whatever reason. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, I hope
there's something about being laid back in Atlanta as opposed to
LA,
being on the West Coast. Yeah.
San Diego.
As I say, sometimes
San Diego is pretty laid back. LA's pretty laid back.
Sometimes. But you're in the Dodger uniform. That's not too much laid back you can be.
I mean, the fans show up in the 4th inning and leave in the 7th. That doesn't get much more laid back than that. But yeah, he had an MVP type of season. It probably should have won the MVP. He finished second to Ryan Braun, who was juiced out of his mind. But then injuries have riddled his career. And what kind of washed him out in LA is they had Jock Peterson coming up. They wanted to bring in a new center fielder, and Kemp had lost a step, and they asked him to play right field or left field, and he said no. So the Dodgers traded him. That's how that worked. And then they actually robbed, as it turns out. San Diego gave them a great deal, and the Dodgers have some guys that are starting for them, including their catcher, Grandal. So it all worked out. We'll see. I'd like to see the Braves get it back together a little bit, but it doesn't look like it's going to be this year. They're still a few years away from getting that club back to where they want to be.
Interesting. Well, you remember now, the last 35 games, they won 25 of them.
They were hot, but now they're kind of playing like they were at this
point last year. It's not hot yet.
No. Well, that's true.
The Braves have never played good in April. Never.
You never know. Is that what you're saying, Pro? You're not writing them off just yet?
Oh, no.
I'm writing them off.
You never know.
The Panthers announced their preseason football schedule today. The Panthers will open the preseason slate on a date. Oh, it's TBD. It'll either be August 10th through the 14th. Sometime in that window, they'll play Houston. That'll be at Bank of America Stadium. So J.D. Clowney and company will be
get in for 2 plays.
He'll be back in his stomping grounds. He played a regular season game there not that long ago. I don't know, did he play in that game or was he still injured? I know he was in town, but the Rock Hill native will be a stone's throw away from home. That'll be their first game. Their second preseason game will be at Tennessee. Their third preseason game will be at Jacksonville, and their final one, of course, they're going to play Pittsburgh. They play the Steelers every year in the preseason.
For whatever reason they do.
Very strange. But they'll play that one at Bank of America Stadium too. Will there be more Steeler fans in the stands? Panther fans? Yeah, probably. Unfortunately, there probably will be more Steeler fans than Panther fans, even in a preseason game. So that's how that's shaking out for the Panthers. Let's let you listen in on what Sergio Garcia had to say. Hey, the Masters is over. You know what that means. It's time for the RBC Heritage, the pride of Hilton Head Island. The RBC Heritage presented by Boeing starts April 10th. Still some time to grab tickets. Get yours now at RBC Heritage. Sergio Garcia. First major championship, the green jacket looked pretty nice on the Spaniard, who has had so many close calls, so many near misses, so many meltdowns, so many skirmishes with fans, verbal skirmishes. But he got it done on Sunday in a playoff over Justin Rose.
Putt. I've hit the putt in the practice rounds. I hit it, I think this week, I hit it twice, and both times it went left. So I was very comfortable with my read. I thought it was just the right edge putt. Obviously very quick. Unfortunately, didn't want to break. But I knew I was playing well. I was very calm, much calmer than yesterday. Much calmer that I've felt probably in any major championship on Sunday. So obviously, Justin wasn't making it easy. He was playing extremely well, but I knew what I was capable of doing, and I believed that I could do it. And thanks to that, I was able to do it.
Mark.
Sergio,
sorry.
you've had, obviously, in front of us over the years, you've had so many disappointments, so many close calls, and you just talked about how you believed. Was there a turning point at one point? At what point did you really believe that you could do this? Because there's been so many times when you've talked to us over the years that you have kind of conceded that that you weren't going to have this moment wasn't going to come.
Well, there's always uncertainty. I don't want to brag about it or anything, but from the drive this morning here to the course, I felt very calm. I felt very very at ease, more than yesterday. Even though yesterday I played well, I was a little bit more nervous. I was a little bit. It was tough to control my emotions sometimes. But today I felt comfortable all day. I obviously 10 is not my favorite hole, but I didn't play that very well. But even after the 2 bogeys, I knew that I could still do. I mean, there were some holes there. There were some tough holes, and I was playing well. And there were some holes that I could go after. So I knew that unless Justin started making birdies left and right, I knew that I would probably have my chances. And the par on 13 obviously was big, and more than anything to make that putt, because I hit some decent putts earlier on the round and didn't make them, and started kind of doubting my reads a little bit. But then made a great putt on 14, putt on 15, made that eagle putt, hit a terrible putt on the next. That wasn't very nice. But then 17 and 18, I played them very, very well. And under the gun, with the pressure and everything, it's not that easy to do. So that gave me a lot of belief. And for some reason, when I get into playoffs, usually now lately, I'm quite comfortable. I feel like I've already had an amazing week, no matter what happens, and go out there and kind of free will it, and obviously hit 2 great shots and a wonderful putt to finish with.
It was a wonderful putt to finish it. He could have missed that putt and still won,
Yeah,
but he
still
did it
won.
on the first one, which made it a little nicer for him. He didn't back into it. He won it, and Justin Rose was in trouble from the beginning there. He hit his tee shot off the trees. He was coming off the pine straw there on number 18. So it was a nice win for Sergio Garcia. Now, who would you say is the best player to never win a major now? I mean, it was Sergio Garcia for a long time, and then Dustin Johnson kind of took that mantle from him, and then it went back to Sergio. That's a tough one. There are a lot of players out there that haven't won a major. It's not an easy thing to do, but somehow, some way, Sergio got it done. He was definitely, that window and door was closing very fast on him getting that major championship, but he got it done, and that was a lot of fun to watch.
He said he felt relaxed, and I got to feel that for all the golfers, but especially for Sergio, navigating those 2 first days, all that wind and coming out, on the leaderboard in the top 5, I think he figured it out. He said, okay, I got some great weather now, and I'm playing some decent golf. And if I can deal with those 2 days of those 25, 30 mile an hour wind gusts, I can do my thing the rest of the weekend.
Mm-hmm. And do his thing, he did. All right, some other notes to pass along if you're just tuning in. Bob Ritchie is now the head basketball coach at Furman. They introduced him today. He was an assistant there, so he is replacing Nico Medved, who took off for the Drake job, and he was the interim head coach for the Paladins. In fact, here's a couple of comments from Coach Ritchie as he was introduced in Greenville earlier today.
I know you guys have questions about the remainder of the staff, and I'm not going to address that here today. I will tell you this. I know that our success will be a large part due to the people that we put around us, and we will fight for the absolute best staff in the league. We will have people that are dedicated to the mission of Furman University and to continue to push this program forward. I want to let you know how excited I am to be here. And the reason I'm excited to be here is because this is an ideal job for me. And, jobs are different, right? But we're in the South. We've got a great group of kids. We've got a mission that I align with personally. And when you talk about academic institutions and you talk about blending athletics with academics, there's a lot of different ways that people try to go about that in the country. And when we took this job 4 years ago, it was a large pressure out there to resist what you have in an academic institution and just to try you can. But Coach Medved and his vision was to not go away from that, but was to align further to that mission and to get people in the boat that agreed with the mission of the university, weren't afraid of the academic component, and furthermore, realized the advantages of what that meant to the rest of their lives. And that's why we're in the position that we're in today. And that's why it's an ideal job for me, because I think that what Furman offers only helps young athletes grow into further men, and that's what we're going to be about.
That is Bob Ritchie, the new head basketball coach at Furman. Nico Medved did a heck of a job there with the Paladins. They were in the thick of things there in the SoCon all season, had a chance to perhaps make the NCAA tournament, ended up going to one of the lower tiered postseasons where they did pretty well, as a matter of fact. But Medved off to Drake, and now Ritchie getting that job, and he's very widely regarded as a solid, young, up-and-coming coach.
Well, he talked about the academics. Let's face it, if you can recruit the kind of kid you want, get them on that beautiful campus they got there, and they can do some damage in the Southern Conference. And then, they got to be able to win that tournament so they can be that team that gets to the NCAA tournament. Then I think they can really take off and develop that program.
Our final break, some comments from the parade that happened downtown from USC. Final segment here on Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes. No quitting Passover. He'll be back with us tomorrow night in studio. We have some things to get to here before we say goodbye. And I know of some stuff from the parade yesterday. Pro, you made it down to the parade yesterday. Was it pretty nice?
It was
nicely
nice.
done
It was
event.
nice, nicely done. And you know, if you look at the parade and what they did on the State House, not only was it nice, but it was also very succinct. They didn't drag it on. They just speeded it up. And I thought that Dawn Staley, you don't get Dawn Staley choked up, but when they gave her that, I think she kind of choked up on that one. She wasn't expecting that.
I didn't think she knew that was coming. I think they surprised her with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's got a street named after her now. That's big time stuff. Let's get a little bit of Asia Wilson. She is the Gamecocks star, their best player, SEC Player of the Year, and she took to the podium and the mic after the parade commenced and wrapped up down at the State House.
I can't even put into words how grateful and blessed we are to be in this position. Y'all? Oh, sorry. Anyways, just thank you so much for being loyal to us. Thank you for those who travel, those who watch at home, tweeting at us, the pictures. Just thank you for everything, because we really couldn't do this without y'all. There'll be games where it's really not going our way, but we hear the fans in Colonial, and y'all really speed us up, and we thank you for that. And thank you to the coaching staff for believing in us and yelling at us and all that good stuff. And I just can't even put into words how it was just a blessing to play with these group of girls. They are like my sisters, most definitely. I can't stand them sometimes, and I love them sometimes. So y'all, yeah, that's the T. But thank you. I can't even put into words. Just thank you, and just me being from here and just be able to bring a national championship back to the state of South Carolina. I mean, I tweeted out I want to be like LeBron and bring one home, and I really couldn't do it without these group of girls and just a great coaching staff. And I want to thank my parents, most definitely. And I want to thank God. I wouldn't be anywhere without them. So I mean, hey, we're trying to bring another one back next year, but we're gonna celebrate this one. Thank you so much.
All right, happy times in Columbia for Dawn Staley's group, and Asia Wilson, Heath Woodhall product in Columbia, stayed home and won a championship. All right, let's keep it on the basketball theme, but head back up to Clemson, where Brad Brownell, the Tigers head coach, who managed to avoid the executioner visiting him after the season. The Tigers didn't live up to expectations, but he kept his job. He didn't exactly get a huge vote of confidence from Dan Radakovich, but he did get to return. Changes were promised, and he announced some of those changes this weekend.
As most of you know, I have a great affinity for Clemson. I really think it's a tremendous academic institution, and it's a place that I really appreciate the values that are instilled in folks here and what this place stands for. My family loves living here, and I have a lot of respect for the leadership of our university and what they're trying to do, the vision. And it's always been a place where I felt like this is a great fit. So I'm obviously extremely excited about being back as the coach. I think we're in a time where we have, it's an exciting time for our future in basketball. I think we have a lot of really positive things going on within our program, and certainly in my meeting with Dan and Graham, and we had great discussion for the better part of 2.5 hours one Saturday, and really went through just all aspects of the program, to be honest with you. And I think a lot of things came out, especially from both sides, where it showed that we're doing a lot of really good things off the court. Our guys graduate. They are tremendous ambassadors of our university in terms of not only how they carry themselves on campus, but the kind of things they get involved with in the community and give back. I think our staff is extremely well liked and respected by other coaches and other people in departments that we deal with on a regular basis, whether that's compliance or admissions, housing, food services. I think our staff really conducts themselves, and we pride ourselves in doing things first class and treating people with respect and being good representatives of our university. So I think when you look at some of the totality of the things that are going on off the court, I think our administrators really see that we're operating in a first class manner, and that our coaching staff prides itself on doing things the right way, and we're doers. We're not complainers. When I got here, everybody kept telling me that you need a new facility, but I don't know that there was anybody that, from a coaching staff standpoint, that wanted to put in the time, energy, and effort necessary to get out and knock on doors, meet with people, go play golf, have luncheons, almost serve a little bit as a politician to help make this building a reality. And I think, if you look at the administration, both from a athletic administration and also up to the president's level, there's a great appreciation for the time and energy and effort our staff has gone to do those things. On the court, I thought we made very good strides in a lot of ways this season. We played the 27th toughest schedule in the country. Our RPI finished at 68. We had 4 top 50 wins and 8 top 100 wins, which, when you compare that to the folks that were kind of in the last 8 teams in the tournament, we're right at the top or right in the middle of those categories. So I think it shows again that in a competitive standpoint, we were extremely close. We averaged 75 points a game, which is a high point for us. And I thought we played a style that people enjoyed watching this year and showcased some of our good young talent that we have on our roster now. And in the recruiting class that we're bringing in, I think is as good as it's been. Players showed great heart and character this year. There's no question we lost, I think it was 5 games by 3 points or less in the league. And there would have been a lot of teams that would have buckled under and given in, and our guys refused to do that. And we kept coming out every week and competing at a very high level, played excellent basketball. Unfortunately, we just weren't able to close out some games. And to be honest with you, when you look at all those things, we were probably 2 wins short.
All right. Jared's telling me you don't celebrate Passover. You observe Passover. Got you, Jared. I think you can celebrate and observe Passover. You can celebrate Easter, or do you observe Easter?
I think your firstborns die somewhere around the time of Passover, so you could celebrate that, I'm sure.
So you gotta smear blood on your door to make sure.
That's like something from an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
No. It's in the Bible, quite frankly.
You are supposed to really smear blood on your door?
No, I mean, that's what they did in the original Passover.
All right,
so
I'm about to say, that'll be a strange order on the way home. To cut Jared. Part of the job.
I used to be scared. I was raised as the eldest child. And it used to freak me out. But
so
then
you do that to make it look like you take.
Well, no, it was to make sure that that your home was protected, that your firstborn son would not be the one the Grim Reaper would take.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't celebrate that. Guess that would be an apt statement. Corn will be back tomorrow. I lied and said he's going to be back in studio. He's going to be in Charlotte at BB&T Stadium there for the Knights. Well, it's a Knights Stadium, but it's going to be the Gamecocks and Tar Heels playing.
And then he's
tomorrow.
going to Hilton Head from there. So
yeah, the RBC Heritage. By the way, don't forget your tickets there at rbcheritage.com. That's going to do it for us tonight. Have yourself a great rest of your Monday. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place here on Sports Talk.